Welcome everyone to meeting number 6. It's Monday, April 26th, and we are conducting this council meeting by Zoom due to the efforts to contain the spread of COVID and protect all individuals and to comply with the province's state of emergency. The council chambers will not be open to the public to attend council meetings until further notice. As noted on tonight's agenda, if members of the public had any comments, they could provide them by email to the clerk by 4:30 today. Please note that any emails, comments submitted will be considered as public information read into the public record later in the agenda. A reminder that members of the public can attend this evening's council meeting virtually. This was noted on this evening's agenda and could be done by contacting the clerk by email prior to 4:30 today to request a Zoom invitation to the meeting. And this meeting is being audio and video recorded and will be posted on the township's website within 48 hours. At this point, we'll stand to sing O Canada, and then I'll go to Councillor Riley for the opening petition. O Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all thy sons command. With glorious hearts we see thee rise, a true north, strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
We gather to make decisions for our community. May we use only our best skills and judgment, keeping ourselves impartial and neutral as we consider the merits and pitfalls of each matter that is placed before us, and always act in accordance with what is best for our community and our fellow citizens.
Thank you, councillors. At this time, I'm going to ask, are there any changes in orders of items on the agenda? Madam Clerk, I see none. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary or conflict of interest from any of the councillors? Madam Clerk, again, I see none. So we're moving to request items on the agenda. Ms. Keith, are there any members in the gallery that are wishing to speak on anything on this evening's agenda?
Seeing none, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. And Madam Clerk, were there any members of the public that emailed comments prior to 4:30 today?
No, Mr. Mayor, thank you.
Okay, thank you. There are no appointments or presentations this evening. So moving right along, we're going to come to regional councillor remarks, and I call upon Councillor Witteveen to provide his remarks at this time. Thank you.
Okay, good evening, Mayor and members of council, staff and the public. I'd like to start by sharing my involvement in this, as a councillor in this past month. Beginning with a meeting with West Lincoln councillors, staff, and from the Niagara region, our township regarding the Niagara official plan. This is a very comprehensive plan since 1973, which makes this process a very important and creates a roadmap for the future here in Niagara, especially West Lincoln. Many items are discussed, such as planning framework, economic competitiveness, housing mix, response to climate change, and natural heritage. So all of you have been involved in one form or another in this process. And I'd like just to mention all of you, the important component for us is the natural heritage system and water resource system, as we are primary agriculture. In May, the region will be presenting the mapping for this, which will be able to determine the accuracy of the mapping and suggest the options that we would like to see moving forward. So the option will be chosen and the mapping will follow. So I encourage council and to develop a position of the desired option that would best suit our community. So on March the 25th at our council meeting, we were given a presentation on the Niagara Parks Commission So just some interesting facts about the commission. We probably all heard about it, and just to kind of give you an overview of what it entails. So David Adams is the CEO of this Crown Corporation, and the highlights go as follows. So they generate 1.2 billion in economic impact, and they generate about 450 million in tax revenue. They have about 1,000 staff in 2020. They have about 56 kilometers on the parkway and about 53 kilometers of Niagara River rec trails. They manage about 1,300 hectares of land, and they have 7 attractions and 4 paid heritage sites, and 3 championship golf course with 6 trail systems. What they see an annual 300,000 annual hikers and full service restaurants. And I found these stats impressive as a resident of Niagara, and I thought you would also. So in April, at the Public Works meeting, we received a report on the producer responsibility program on the municipal household hazardous waste. Staff submitted a report to AMO and through the industry associates to ensure that we understand the impacts of this new collection system. Mostly, we are concerned with dumping of this product in our communities because of the cleanup cost to our residents. So I'll keep you updated on this progress as it unfolds at the province and at the region. I request a report from the Waste Management Committee on a 6-month update of our new collection contractors. I'm curious to follow through on the diversion targets and where did we see increases and decreases in the collection of the materials. So that will be coming next month. So later that day was our public health meeting, and our first presenters talked about looking for support for a national childcare strategy. This is great timing with Councillor Braddock's motion to request more spaces for parents in our community. And with the federal budget announcement later that month of moving in this direction, I look forward to supporting and speaking on Councillor Braddock's motion that was supported by this council. A quick update on the 2 regional long-term care facilities being rebuilt. Lynnhaven's tender will be awarded June the 24th with a 30-month build, being November 2023 for completion, and Gilmore tender being awarded August 26th, being a 27-month build, and also completed November 2023. So the plan is to move all residents in before Christmas of 2023. So many people look forward to this, and I asked if there was a number of contractors that were pre-qualified, and the answer was there was 7 contractors that were pre-qualified for this bidding process to make sure that it was a competitive bid and that we would get a good result for the dollars being spent. So the following day at the Planning and Economic Development meeting, we were given another step of the Niagara official plan process where public concerns on input were in line with councillors' feedback. Most of the presentation was based on the pillars and directives on how they need to be aligned to create a Made in Niagara approach to planning. We had a second presentation on the economic update, and here's some interesting information on Niagara. So our population is now at 481,000 with an average household per capita of 31,000 to 33,000. Average housing price was $550,000, and this was in January of 2021. So that changes quite rapidly these days. And in 2020, Niagara experienced a 2.75 billion in residential and institutional growth. And even though the challenges of 2020, Niagara did well in this category, but tourism and hospitality was the hardest hit with the lack of international visitors. So this sector will obviously take time to rebuild and moving forward. So as counselor and counselors, this is my report for April. And if any members have any questions, I will answer them to the best of my abilities. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Witteveen. Are there any questions for our regional councillor? Councillor Bradrick, go ahead.
Thank you very much, and through you, Mayor, to Regional Councillor Witteveen. Thank you very much for your report. I just want to thank you for bringing forward again the childcare letter that we as council wrote to the region of Niagara, and as communicated with you, looking for you to bring it forward to your and push it through at the region level. When is the next public health meeting that letter will be presented at?
Through you to Councillor Bradrick, I will say that May the 11th is our public health meeting. I'm hoping it was directed there or through correspondence, which then can be that will be the time that will be discussed and highlighted.
Great, thank you very much. We'll look forward to hearing a report back from you next month in regards to that. Thank you.
Thank
You're
you, Councillor. Councillor Riley, I think I saw your finger.
Actually, no, I was just giving it a thumbs up.
Oh, good, good. All right. Any other councillors with a question for Councillor Witteveen? Seeing none, thank you, sir, for your report. And I just, you know what, I just want to interject here. It's been better than 2 years now that we've had you engaged, and I just want to say it's a real asset to have a very thorough report coming from the region this term. Previous terms, you know, it fell upon the mayor, but you know, I certainly appreciate the thoroughness of your report. So you know, it even stimulates some of the discussions in my head again. So thank you very much, sir.
No, thank you for those kind words, Mayor.
All right, at this time we move on to confirmation of minutes. I have the council minutes regular of March 22nd, and Councillor Bradrick, I believe you have that resolution.
Yes, I do. Moved by myself, Councillor Shelley Broderick, that the minutes of the open session portion of the March 22nd, 2021 regular council meeting be accepted, and that the confidential minutes relating to the closed session portion of the March 22nd, 2021 regular council meeting be accepted, and that the minutes remain confidential and restricted from public disclosure in accordance with exceptions provided Section 239 of the Municipal Act.
Thank you, Councillor. Can I get a seconder, please? And I have Councillor Ganand. Thank you. Are there any comments or questions? Seeing none, I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. Moving on, I have Councillor Rayner with the minutes of March 30 special.
Yes, moved by myself that the minutes of March 30th, 2021 special council meeting be accepted.
Thank you. Can I get a seconder for that one? Thank you, Councillor Jonker. Are there any comments or questions? Seeing none, I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. Moving on, we have a public meeting on April the 12th, and I have Councillor Ganand with that resolution. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself that the minutes of the public meeting held on April 12th, 2021, under the Ontario Building Code Act relating to amendments to the township's building bylaw, increased building fees, be accepted.
Thank you, Councillor. Can I get a seconder for that? I'm going to go with Councillor Bradrick. Thank you very much. And are there any comments or questions? I see none, so I'm going to call the question. All those in favor, please indicate. And opposed? And that is carried. Thank you. Moving on to 8.4, we have a public consultation meeting of April 12th. And Councillor Bradrick, again, you have that resolution.
Yes, moved by myself, Councillor Shelley Broderick, that the minutes of the public consultation meeting held on April the 12th, 2021, with respect to Xplornet Communications, Inc. Communication Tower, 9257 Regional Road 20 be accepted.
Thank you, Counselor. And can I get a seconder for that? All right, Counselor Riley, thank you very much. Are there any comments or questions? Seeing none, I'm going to call the question. All those in favor, please indicate. And that is carried. Thank you very much. There are no communications. We move on to 9. There are no communications. So we'll move on to 10 and Mayor's remarks. And I really just have one highlight that I'd like to enter into the record at this time. And that is our very dear Jean Friesen, who has been employed by the township as an accounting and general secretary for the finance department for 6.5 years, and has announced that she will be retiring effective at the end of June 2021. And so I'd like to, I saw her in the office today and we had a little chat, and she's by no means going to sit on her laurels, but she's going to continue to, well, she hopes to travel, and we know how that's going to go, but when that opportunity. So we wish her well, and we, you know, a long, fulfilling retirement. And on behalf of council and staff, I think you'll join me in congratulating her on this new chapter in her life. So thank you, Jean Friesen. Okay, then we move on to reports of committee. Planning Environmental Committee from April 12th, Councilor Riley, you have that resolution?
I do, Mr. Mayor, and I just need clarification. Either it's broken into 3 sections on my side, and I'm moving each section. Do I read them one section at a time, or do I read it all as one entire?
No, we'll do them one at a time. We'll do them one at a time.
Okay. All right, so moved by myself that the minutes of the open session portion of the April 12th, 2021 Planning, Building, Environmental Committee meeting be accepted, and the recommendations contained therein be approved with the exception of item P46-21 blank, and that the confidential minutes relating to the closed session portion of the April 12th, 2021 Planning, Building, Environmental Committee meeting be accepted, and that the minutes remain confidential and restricted from public disclosure in accordance with Section 239 of the Municipal Act.
Thank you, Councilor Riley. So one item P4621 has been pulled. Are there any other items that Councilor may wish to pull? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, then we're going to, I'm going to take a seconder for, so Councilor Gann, we have a seconder for part 1, which is the balance of the minutes with the exception of P46-21. We'll deal with it shortly. So on the balance of the minutes at this time, are there any comments or questions? Seeing none, I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? And that is carried, Madam Clerk. Councilor Riley, I'm going to get you to read part 2.
All right, and there's actually 3 parts in total. So part 2, moved by myself that item P4621 of April 12th, 2021 Planning, Building, Environmental Committee meeting regarding recommendation report PD 35-2021 official plan and zoning bylaw amendment for 6659 Regional Road 20, Greek Association and Mars Home Smithville West Inc. be amended by removing recommendation number 3 and replacing it with the following new recommendation number 3. That, sorry, I got.
Excuse me, Mr. Riley. The way it looks on eScribe is a bit different. It should actually be putting it on the table to recommend approval. So it should be the next one
So
on eScribe, not that one read first.
okay, because that's, I'm sorry, that's just what's coming up on the website. I have a hard time with
Yeah.
eScribe separating all that.
I emailed you all of this, so it looked a little bit better, but sorry, I guess you didn't get my email.
Councilor Riley, you've basically put it on the floor for approval,
Right.
and we want to, I think you want to make a change to it, which means that the council has to vote this down
No,
to
no,
reopen the
sorry, Mr.
debate.
Mayor.
Is that correct, Clerk, Madam
No.
Clerk?
Sorry, Mr. Mayor.
Oh.
No, we have to put it on the table. The resolution is fine as it is, but we have to do an amendment to it. In
Okay, all
order
right.
to authorize the bylaw and for the mayor and clerk to sign the bylaw. Sorry.
Okay,
So
so-
yeah, so on the eScribe, it's actually, I
so I have
know it
the
looks a
email.
little weird and there's nothing I could do about it, but it's actually the next resolution further down that says that item for P46-21 recommendation report number 03521 OP and zoning bylaw Greek Association of Mars Home of the April 12th, Planning, Building, Environmental Committee minutes be approved.
Okay,
And we need a mover and seconder for that, and
Yeah.
I did ask Counselor Riley to move it, so.
so Councilor Riley will move it. Can I get a seconder for that? Okay, Councilor Ganan. So now it's open, it's on the floor for discussion. So an amendment at this time would be considered. Is that correct, Madam Clerk?
Yes, that's correct, Mr. Mayor, and that was the resolution that actually Counselor Riley was reading.
Okay, Councilor Riley, for the sake of clarity, can you read that resolution again?
Yes.
The amendment.
So I'm gonna read what I have in my email here. So I have that. Okay,
So
sorry, let me
it's
back
part
up.
3, Mr. Riley.
Is it just, so part, so I just read the stuff that's not highlighted, right?
That's correct.
That item P46.
Yep. Okay, I see it. That item P4621 of April 12th, 2021, Planning, Building, Environmental Committee meeting regarding recommendation report PD 35, 2021, official plan and zoning bylaw amendment for 6659 Regional Road 20, Greek Association, Mars Home, Smithville West, Inc., be amended by removing section 3 and replacing it with the following new recommendation 3. And that recommendation is that the authorizing bylaw be passed to authorize the mayor and clerk to sign official plan amendment number 59, be approved, and that staff circulate notice of approval in accordance with the Planning Act. And
So Councilor Riley has proposed an amendment. Can I get a seconder for that amendment? Okay, Councilor Bradrick, thank you. Any discussions on this amendment? Councilor Rayner, go ahead on the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through to Mr. Counselor Riley. Why did you want an amendment on this for?
so I didn't specifically ask for the amendment. This amendment's coming forward to the township. I was appointed to move it, as we all appointed to move the.
Okay, so I'm going to go to Councilor, the Director of Planning, to give a small explanation to Councilor Rayner. Go ahead, Brian.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, I'm sorry to cause such confusion. The report as it was drafted and discussed at Planning Committee was fine, and the recommendations contained therein were exactly what we wanted, except we missed one piece, and that was that the official plan requires a bylaw signed by the clerk and mayor, and it wasn't part of the resolution. So all we're doing is amending this report to add in that a bylaw be passed. My apologies.
Okay, so that's just for the amendment. Councilor Riley, then I'm going to Councilor Ganan.
So if I could just clarify, is this the topic where when we were reading that, we were missing one of the items? Is this what we were, and then later on we tried to vote on it? Is this just trying to tidy that up, or is this something different?
There was a report at one of the meetings where there was a clause missing. This is not that
Okay.
one.
Okay, I
No.
just want to make sure I was getting my wires crossed, so thank you.
Yeah, no.
Councilor Ganan?
Okay, I just wanted to check while the director is on, through you, Mr. Mayor, to make sure that, since I have to read bylaws, that they are accurate. That has now been included under 16-1, 16.3, 40, bylaw 42, is that the one?
I'll confirm with the
2142?
clerk. I believe that would be correct, but Joanne
Okay.
might be able to confirm that.
Okay, I just want to make sure before I get there and we have another kerfuffle that that's in place too.
Okay, I think we could,
Through
go
you,
ahead,
Mr. Mayor,
Madam Clerk.
yes, that is correct. The bylaw that's on the agenda is the correct bylaw.
Thank
Looks like
you,
it's
Madam
probably,
Clerk.
it's probably
Thank you.
41.
Yes, I can't remember the number.
Okay, there's one that's 41 and 42 that both are involved. So as long as I have them, I'm good. Thank you so much.
Yeah, 41's the OP.
Okay.
Okay, I think we're, from this mess, and some clarity is emerging. So we have an amendment, we have a seconder for that amendment. I'm going to call the question on that amendment, unless there's any other comments or questions. Seeing none, then I'm going to call the question at this time on the amendment. All those in favor? And any opposed? And that is carried, Madam Clerk. So now we have a new amended resolution, P4621. It was properly moved and seconded. So are there any further comments or questions on resolution P46-21 as amended? Seeing none, I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? And opposed? And that is carried, Madam Clerk.
Now I have my last section here.
Yeah, and then you have the last section, so go ahead.
I believe we've got everything done.
Oh,
Okay.
did we?
Yeah.
Okay.
The
Councilor-
original resolution and then pulling that item, and then we amended it and went back and carried it as amended. So I think we did.
I think we're good, Council Riley. Yeah,
Okay,
good. But tuck it in your head. We can. if
hold on.
necessary.
No, actually, this is talking about the third one here. I see, because I've only moved 2 of the 3 items that I have on at least my screen. It's talking about that the committee meetings minutes, be approved. Is that already taken care of in that last one?
We did it first.
Yes. Well, it's carried as amended, and yes,
Okay.
it was carried.
We don't have a third seconder, so that's the only reason why I'm asking.
No, I
Right.
have Counselor, Counselor Bradricks did the item,
The first one.
and then Counselor Ganan did the second one as amended, which is the approval.
Okay.
And the original motion was yourself and Counselor Ganan again,
Okay.
which was everything but P 4621.
Okay.
All right. It's clear in my head too, and I think we're okay to proceed there, Councilor Riley. So moving on, 11.2 is Admin Finance Fire Committee of April 19. Councilor Trombetta, you have that resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself that the minutes of the Administration, Finance, and Fire Committee meeting held on April 19, 2021 be accepted, and that the recommendations contained thereon be approved with the exceptions of item numbers, and that the confidential minutes related to the closed session portion of the April 19, 2021 Administration, Finance, and Fire Committee meeting be accepted, and that the minutes remain confidential and restricted from the public disclosure in accordance with Section 239 of the Municipal Act.
Thank you, Councilor. Can I get a seconder? Gonna go Councilor Riley. Thank you very much. Are there any exceptions? Are there any items that they wish to pull? Any discussion? Any questions or comments? Seeing none, I'm going to call the question. All those in favor, please indicate. And those opposed? And that is carried, Madam Clerk. Moving on, we have the Public Works, Rec, and Arena minutes of April 19. Councillor Jonker, you have that resolution.
Yes, I do, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself that the minutes of the Public Works Recreation Arena Committee meeting held on April 19th, 2021 be accepted, and that the recommendations contained therein be approved with the exceptions of items, and I don't see any.
Members of committee, are there any items that anyone wish to pull or have an exception? Can I get a seconder, please? Councillor Trombetta, thank you very much. Any comments or questions on the minutes? Councillor Ganan, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Actually, it's just a comment from a resident. As we know, Rob Cosby follows all public works items, and he wanted it made known. Unfortunately, the director isn't on this call, but however, he wanted it made known that he was very pleased with the spring work that was done on his rural road. And secondly, he was very pleased with the fact that we added the additional portion to concession 5 to make sure that that entire piece was done based on the additional funds available through the low tender. So in any case, sometimes we don't hear positive strokes like that. So I thought that I would put that down the record.
Thank you, Councillor, for that input. Are there any other comments or questions? Seeing none, then I'm going to call the question. All those in favor indicate. And any opposed? That is carried, Madam Clerk. Moving on, we have Section 12 reconsideration and Section 30 notice of motion to rescind. So we move on to, and there are none, so we move on to other business. 14.1 is for information. I don't know if there's anything that the Director of Planning would like to say on that, or if anybody has a question of that. We don't need to vote, but if there's any questions. Okay, seeing no questions on that item, we move to 14.1. Councillor Rayner, request of Province of Ontario for financial assistance. Councillor Rayner, you have a business matter that you would like to discuss this evening that So we're going to put this on the table. So this is to introduce another item, another business matter that Councillor Rayner would like to discuss. Can I get a seconder for putting this on the table? Thank you, Councillor Bradrick. So this is to have Councillor Rayner introduce another item of business. The vote is just very simple. All those in favor of introducing this, please indicate at this time. And all those opposed? Councillor Riley,
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, some issues there. Can you say that again?
okay, so let me back up. Councillor Rayner would like to introduce another business matter. He has put it on the floor. Councillor Bradrick has seconded it. So I'm taking up a vote to introduce another business item. So I'm going to call the question again. I had 3 positives, and so at this point, so all those in favor?
Sure.
Mr. Mayor,
Okay,
it
great.
actually isn't a new item of business. He asked, Councillor Rayner contacted me and asked to have this item put on the agenda. So it is there. The resolution, as he requested, is also there. My suggestion is to get a mover and seconder and open it up for discussion.
Okay. Okay. All right. So we didn't even need to do that step. Okay.
Right.
Councillor Rayner, you have a resolution for this item, please. So cancel that first and second and the vote. Well, it was passed anyway. So go ahead, Councillor Rayner, you have a resolution.
All right. Moved by myself that the Council for the Township of West Lincoln respectively requests that the province of Ontario support the township's request for financial assistance to offset the fixed costs as a result of the closure of the West Lincoln Community Center, arena, walking track, gymnasium, community meeting rooms, etc., due to COVID-19 pandemic, and that the orders issued by the province since March 2020, which has resulted in these costs being borne by the taxpayers of our municipality who have been financially impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Can I get a seconder for that resolution, please? Councillor Trombetta, thank you very much. It's on the floor. Councillor Rayner, I'm going to ask you to make your opening comments, and then I'll probably go to the Director of Finance for our response. So go ahead, Councillor Rayner.
Thank you very much. This has been brought up by me initially at the budget time. I did ask the Director of Finance with regards to the financing of the community center during the pandemic and the shortage of funds associated with it because of the rent and all the rest of this stuff. And I was trying to get to the point about the entire cost of a building that was not accessible to the public, that the public was paying for. And I didn't quite get there. I tried a couple times, and basically I think the end result was, and I'm sure the director will correct me if I'm wrong, that the amount that was not received because of the fact it was closed was made up by the $329,000 that was received from the province. But that wasn't really what I was trying to get to. And I let it go and thinking that, okay, it's a one-shot deal, we're done. And then we ended up with restrictions again a second time. And now we had restrictions again a third time. And this time last week or whatever, the premier decided to add 2 more weeks to it. And I'm saying, okay, we've gone far enough. Time to do something about it. This building is a tremendous cost to the township. It's cost a lot of money to build. It's cost a former mayor his job because of it. And right now there's a situation where the province is saying, we can't even use this building. So I'm saying, if the province is saying we can't use this building, then the province should be liable for the entire associated cost. It's like you have a mortgage for a month. Well, you pay the mortgage for the month, not just the difference on what we didn't receive back. Because if we don't, we're actually double dipping. We have the money coming in from the taxpayers to pay for a building we can't use. And we've got money coming in from the government that is supposed to use to offset that. So somewhere along the line, the taxpayers is not getting a good deal out of this. To me, and it was mentioned that we didn't apply for phase 2 of this because we had enough left over. Well, I'm thinking we had left over because to me, what I would feel would be that money should be used to pay the entire cost of keeping that building in the condition it's supposed to be in until it can reopen, if indeed it'll ever reopen to the extent that it's supposed to, because even the vaccines are only 95% effective now. So it's deemed not essential. It's deemed a potential disease transmission center. How long that's going to go? I mean, I've got my COVID shot and I still got to walk around with a mask. So, I mean, when is it really going to come back to reality? It may never come back to reality. And a 5% risk of getting somebody sick or somebody dying could exist after the fact. So who knows what the future of this building is. But right now, this building is closed by the province. All associated costs with that building should be paid for by the province. And therefore, the amount of money that would have been taken from the taxpayers to pay that installments on that debenture should be refunded to the taxpayers. That's what I think should be done with this, because otherwise we're double dipping. We've received money from the province, and we've also received money from the taxpayers, but there's only one bill. So the bill should be paid by the one responsible. We're responsible for building this building, but we weren't responsible for shutting it down. So if you want to shut it down, you pay for it. So that's where I'm coming from. That's the essence of this. I think it's very simple. I think it's very fair. And I think it gives the taxpayers of this township some tax relief at a time with COVID, and a lot of us aren't working or are on limited work or have problems because of it. This would be nice to get a break on our property taxes, a refund, whatever you want to call it, because not only have they shut it down once, they've shut it down twice, they've shut it down 3 times, and now they've extended it. And we're going to pay for that? No, you pay for it. You shut it down.
Okay.
So that's where I'm sitting.
Yeah. Thank you, Councillor. I'm going to go to the Director of Donna DeFilippis for a bit of a response or perhaps even a redirect.
Thank you, Mayor Bylsma. To Councillor Rayner, I'm going to keep my camera off just because of the internet connection. So I appreciate your passion, Councillor Rayner. I'll do my best to try to give some response. So I think one of the items you mentioned was that, excuse me, the township was responsible for building the facility. It was the township's decision to build that facility. When it was approved, the funding model was approved at that time. And in essence, it's our responsibility to pay for that building. In terms of COVID happening, you are correct. We've had to close the building for recreation purposes. It is being used as a vaccine site. And the province has provided funding to assist with the loss in revenue. In my opinion, that is where their assistance would be needed. Just to give some background, the net budget for both for facilities is $489,000. So that is what the taxpayers are paying for facilities. Included in that net revenue, we take into account, included in that net budget, we take into account revenue. So without that revenue, you'd be looking at a much more a higher cost to the taxpayer. So the province has assisted us with the loss in revenue side. In my opinion, they're not going to cover the fixed costs, the $489,280. If it's the will of council to approach the province for additional funds, that's up to council. My role is every month I report to council. I let you know what the COVID costs are. And if I see that we're running into trouble and we would need more funds, then I would recommend that to council. Last December, I was concerned because at that point we had only received an additional $66,000 for 2020, and I not enough. And then luckily in the spring of 2021, the province announced additional funding, an additional $267,744. So that puts in a much better place. And in fact, we've received half of those funds just last week. So I probably don't have the answer you want to hear, Councillor Rayner, but I'm just giving you my professional opinion.
Thank you, Director. Councillor Ganane, please.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was kind of alarmed when I saw this on the agenda for tonight. I know that Councillor Rayner has asked those questions about our municipal center. I'm frazzled, I guess, because Councillor Rayner did vote along with the rest of us, except for you, Mr. Mayor, to go forward with that community center, and yet he keeps sort of at it a lot. So I actually sat and I have notes prepared. Now, our director has just addressed a few of those along the way, but if you'll bear with me, I'm still going to go through that. I have been also in consultation with our director of finance, and so I'm not saying anything tonight that in any way undermines the fact that I think that she does a marvelous job. I certainly would not want to put staff on the spot in any way. So we are sort of in collaboration in terms of this. So I started by saying I would like to preface my comments regarding Councillor Rayner's resolution by reminding all members of council of some facts relating to this topic. So in the agenda of March 15th Administration Fire Finance meeting, there were 2 items of correspondence relating to this issue. The first item was a letter from the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, Steve Clark, related to a meeting between himself, our MPP Sam Osterhoff, Mayor Bylsma, and CAO Bev Henry at the virtual Roma conference this past winter. In it, he stated, and I quote, that he appreciated learning about the proactive efforts of the Township of West Lincoln taken to mitigate negative cost impacts and revenue shortfalls due to COVID-19. He went on to state, and again I quote, as discussed at the delegation, the government is committed to supporting municipalities in a sustainable and responsible manner. Minister Clark went on to thank the township for sharing the township's concerns regarding loss of revenue since the lockdown. Additionally, the letter stated, please feel free to share documentation of your efforts and cost containment measures, as it is helpful to see the financial impacts of COVID-19 from a small rural perspective. So my first question for our Director of Finance is, have we already, or are we in the process of sharing information regarding our first quarter COVID-19 costs to the Ontario government? And is there some type of regular reporting process in place in respect to COVID-19? So I'm going to proceed with these just so that everybody knows the facts along the way and are reminded of those this evening. So Director, please.
Through you, Mayor Bylsma, to Councillor Ganane, the reporting schedule has been modified by the province. The first report is to be due June 2021. We haven't received any templates yet. So we're awaiting that before we can report to the province. And in terms of updates, we don't do regular updates to the province, but council gets a monthly update.
Thank you very much. So that leads me to the second letter under correspondence from that same meeting of March 15th. Again, it was a letter from Minister Steve Clark discussing the provincial government's $500 million investment to help municipalities respond to the ongoing and unprecedented 2021 COVID-19 operating pressures. In this letter, he stated that he was pleased to inform West Lincoln that the government of Ontario had reviewed the eligibility criteria for provincial assistance based on the COVID-19 cases from January 1st, 2021 to February 18th, 2021. It stated that we were to receive $267,744, subject to returning the letter signed by our municipal treasurer to the ministry by March 24th, so as to allow it to be processed by March 31st. So my next question, Donna, is, was that letter returned to the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing, and was it done in a timely manner?
Through you, Mayor Bylsma, to Councillor Ganane, yes to both questions.
Thank you. Thank you. So that same letter provided at our March 15th meeting also states that this money will be paid in 2 equal installments. The first being on or before May 1st, 2021, and the second on or before November 1st, 2021. It additionally states that the municipality is accountable for the purpose of addressing our priority COVID-19 costs and pressures. So currently, would that include and also address the decline in revenue at our community center due to the lockdowns? Madam Director?
Through you, Mayor Bylsma, to Councillor Ganane, our township is applying the funds to the loss in revenue. So yes.
Okay, thank you. So as our community center isn't any kind of a business, but rather it's identified as a municipal asset that provides an opportunity for recreational services to our residents, how appropriate would it be for our township to apply for further funding as if, for example, the community center was in fact a business?
Through you, Mayor Billsma, to Councillor Ganan. When the Safe Restart funds were first presented by the province, there were training sessions in terms of how this funding worked. And they made it quite clear that when we report back, we have to show actuals versus budget. So in essence, if something was budgeted for and COVID impacted that, then it more than likely could be eligible for assistance. That's why the loss in revenue is eligible, because we budgeted for the revenue. If it doesn't come in, they look at that as an eligible assistance. So I think in terms of what we're allocating the funds to, I think it's appropriate. You're right, we are not a business, so we are not eligible for the wage subsidies and some other funding items that private companies are eligible for. In terms of a municipality, it's the Safe Restart funds that we have.
Thank you so much. And now I know that you've answered this, but I'm going to ask it anyway. So have we received any of this already allotted money as yet? But you've already done that, I know, but go ahead, we'll do it again. Or any notice of its upcoming arrival, since the letter stated that the first installment would be on or before May 1st.
Through you, Mayor Billsma, to Councillor Ganan. My staff emailed me today that on April 23rd, we received 133,872. So $133,872 from the province.
72. Okay, thank you. So further to that letter from Minister Clark, it states that the funding received exceeds our 2021 COVID operating costs and pressures, then it is the province's expectation that the excess funding is to be placed into a reserve to support future COVID-19 operating costs and pressures. The letter again goes on to state, and again I quote, the province realizes that in some instances, the funding will not be sufficient to cover all operating impacts due to COVID-19, and that they expect municipalities to do their part by continuing to find efficiencies and use existing reserves and reserve funds specifically put aside for such unforeseen circumstances. In terms of reporting back to the provincial government, a report regarding the use of the funds last year, meaning in 2020, and the estimated impacts and planned use of the funding for 2021 be submitted in June of 2021, and you've alluded to that already. It also asks for a final report in the spring of 2022. That makes it sound to me like this March 4th letter is the official notification of the entire 2021 allotment, with the first coming on or around May, as it has, and the final funding installment coming in November. So again, I'm going to ask you, Madam Director, is it your understanding that the May 4th letter from Minister Clark is in fact the official notification of the 2021 program for municipal support for COVID-19 impact on operating costs and pressures?
Through you, Mayor Billsma, to Councillor Ganan. At this point, that would be the latest letter that we have, and we have no indication of additional funding or funding opportunities at this point.
Thank you. So that kind of answered my next part was, in your opinion, is there likely any additional funding available? So obviously it doesn't sound like it that way. So again, I'm going to go on because I have just another bit, Mayor, if you'll bear with me, please.
Yeah.
At our April 19 Administration, Finance and Fire Committee meeting, the Director of Finance provided item A31-21, which was a finance update to the end of March 2021. In this report, the director clearly outlined the COVID-19 funding as provided by the Ontario government. So first, in 2020, the township received $329,800 through the Restart Agreement. It is anticipated that, according to the report, $50,000 of that will be transferred to the Contingency Reserve Fund for the 2021 COVID-19 costs. In December of 2020, an additional transfer of $66,000 to assist with the impact of COVID-19 was received. On March 4th, 2021, funding of $267,744 was announced as COVID-19 recovery funding for municipalities program, as per the letter that we've already pointed out and I've asked questions of Donna about. So in total, $383,744,000 in funds are available to assist with COVID-19 impacts. So finally, my questions to you, Madam Director. In your educated and professional opinion at this time, does this information regarding the reporting process suggest to you that it is possible to apply for further funding, or that unless something unforeseen occurs with COVID-19 or additional money is available at the end of the year, such as we received in December of 2020, that this amount for 2021 is the final amount and that there is no further money coming from the province?
Through you, Mayor Billsma, Councillor, and then my opinion is that we continue to deal with COVID the way we did in 2020. We closely monitor our costs, and when we see to the province as we did last year. COVID is changing rapidly, as we all know. We never anticipated a third wave. Even I think when we were doing the budget, we didn't anticipate a third wave. But at this point, to ask for funds, there wouldn't be a lot of actual factual support we could give the province. I think we continue to monitor, and we would advise council if there's a time where we really do think we need to advocate for more funds if we see that we are in need.
Okay, so that advocation would take place in a different way, I presume. So I'm back to my final comments then. We certainly do not want our municipality to appear foolish by asking for more support when it's quite clearly outlined in the ministry letter that no extra money will be forthcoming from the province as related to COVID-19 losses. We as members of council also do not want it to appear that our staff and council are not appreciative of the support that we already receive from the province, especially after being able to voice our concerns about the impact of the virus on a small rural community at the Roma conference. We would also, I presume, not like to be viewed as a municipality that is unable to understand budgeting, funding, and appropriate governance. So my final part is it in your opinion, Madam Director, worth pursuing Councillor Rayner's suggestion at this time to ask for more money to offset lost revenue at our community center when community centers right across the province have been shut down due to COVID-19?
Through you, Mayor Billsma, to Councillor Gannett, at this point, I do not recommend that council apply for additional operating funds to assist with our 2021 budget.
Thank you. So, Mr. Mayor, thank you for your patience, and the rest of council, thank you for your patience. But I really thought that we needed to have the facts laid out as they have been through the last few months, and really look at whether this is something that is a pretty good idea, a not so good idea, or something that might embarrass our municipality. And at this point, I would trust the judgment, and I thank the director for her opinions and for bearing with my question and answer things tonight. And I certainly won't be supporting this at this time.
Thank you, Councillor Gannan. That was very thorough. I'm going to go to other members of council, but I did see Councillor Rayner who wants to conclude. So Councillor Jonker, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, basically, I'm not going to be as long-winded as Councillor Gannan, but I do appreciate what you brought forward. And I think the point that she's trying to make is that the government of Ontario has said they will support the municipalities on lost revenue, and they have been doing that. I do appreciate Councillor Rayner's point that, you know, we have a building that's not being used, but at the end of the day, the government of Ontario has said that they will help us with lost revenue. They're not going to help us with the payments on my mortgage. They're not going to help you with your payment on your mortgage. They'll support you, but they're not going to say, well, because you're not working, we're going to just pay your mortgage. And I get that's the feeling, that's the impression I'm getting from this motion, that you want us as a township to go to the provincial government and say, we built this building, it's not working, it's not being used, so you have to pay for everything. And that's where I think I agree with Councillor Ganan. And at the end of the day, you know, asking for a government up above to pay for something that we built is putting a burden on taxpayers just differently. So I don't think I can support this motion as well. We do have a beautiful building. It's frustrating to see it not being used, but I think we just need to continue with what the director's doing of financing and track the losses of revenue. And if possible, apply for that when at the end of this mess. So I think we just need to continue with what we've been doing, and I won't be supporting this motion.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Jonker. Councillor Riley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I guess, like, look at this at face value. I totally appreciate Councillor Rayner's, I think, sentiment here and in trying to help lessen the burden on the community and the taxpayers. But hearing even from the advice from our finance department, who probably, they know the books better than any of us combined could do. If their professional opinions that this is not necessarily something we should be considering at this point, I think we need to listen to that. At the same time, I know we've, to endorse a letter, what is the impact of that? It probably just falls on deaf ears, right? So, the other side of it is, like, does it really hurt? But at the same time, if based on the information we received already from the province and in hearing from our staff, it's just going to create more work there. I'm torn, but at the same time, I'm a firm believer, it never hurts to ask, but at the same time, I just don't think this might be the right time. So I'm a little undecided, but I think I'm leaning towards Councillor Ganan's side.
Councillor Trombetta, go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, in reading this, I don't know. I don't think that just the West Lincoln Community Center, there's all facilities that have been impacted, not just the community center. I don't know. To me, if someone wants to send a letter, all the best. It doesn't hurt to send a letter. Is it going to go anywhere? Probably not. We sent countless letters for the turbines. Guess what? They're spinning. I think we sent a letter once a week. We sent for the turbines. It is what it is. You want to send a letter, send a letter. It is, like I said, but I don't think it should be just focused on the community center. It should be focused on everything that's been impacted in the community, not just solely one facility. So if that maybe changes, why not send a letter? What's it going to do? It's probably going to get filed at the bottom, maybe never looked at. That's it. But that's just my opinion. All the best.
Okay, Councillor Rayner, please go ahead. I think you'll be the last one to speak on this. Your motion.
Yes, I just brought this up because of the fact that the way this is going, this building is new and it's going to be down more than it's going to be operating. And who knows what it's going to be down the road with restrictions. It may never be what it was supposed to be dreamed of. It was just, unfortunately, it's become what was supposed to be a great asset is becoming right now a huge financial liability for people who are paying, but they can't use it. And no, Councillor Ganan is wrong. Councillor Bilsma at the time and myself did not support the building. However, that's not what I'm dealing with right now. What I'm dealing with right now is the building that we're paying taxes on that we didn't close down. So, and I know what Councillor Trombetta says, concentrate on other things, but there is nothing that was built in the township of West Lincoln that was $31 million with a huge deficit, over 20% of your property taxes and 31% portion of your 100 goes towards that. 55 goes to the region and 14 goes to the Board of Education. Of your taxes now that, we go ahead with it. We have to accept the fact that it's being built, but now we got a slap in the face and now we can't even use the damn building. So here we are, and who knows what we're going to be able to do with it down the road. There was a 13-year-old died just a couple days ago. They announced on the radio. They also announced on the TV that people are passing away at home now before they even get to the hospital. And the vaccine is not 100% effective. So where does that leave this building down the road? I don't know, but it doesn't look pretty to me, no matter how you look at it. I'm certainly not going to go there. And I've got the COVID, vaccine for the COVID. So I'm just, it's okay. Now the question, I got to go back to the Director of Finance. I was aware of the 329,800 that came through last year, but I thought there was also a report saying that we had substantial left over. We are not applying for any more at this time. Was that not correct, or did I mess that up?
Through you, Mayor Bilsma, to Councillor Rayner. No, so we received 329 in 2020. Then there was an opportunity to apply for additional funds in 2020. We did not because we had leftover funds. So of that, we're bringing forward
I
about, we're bringing forward about 50,000. The province gave us an additional 66,000 at the end of 2020. And then the announcement in 2021 of the 267,000. So you are correct. We did
Okay, so
not apply for phase 2 of the first funding.
Block.
Did not apply for it. Normally you apply for money and you cross your fingers and you hope you get it. We didn't apply for this and we just got $267,744 handed to us when we didn't apply and we didn't need a phase 2. Am I reading this correct?
No, you're not. Director, I think you a little bit more clarity. There was a first application, there was surplus funds that were carried over.
Correct.
At the end, they gave us 66, and that was in the first block. And now there's a second portal opened up, and we're getting that third number in sections.
But I thought we were not applying because we had a surplus.
Through you, Mayor Bilsma, to
And-
Councillor, to Councillor Rayner. So the 66,000 and the 267,744, we did not have to fill out an application for those funds. Those funds are allocated by the province to all municipalities based, I believe, on all the advocacy that municipalities were doing on behalf of, their municipality. I do know that the last amount, the 267, part of the formula, it was based on the ratio of active COVID cases that were actually in your municipality. So they were actually looking at direct impacts. So we did not have to apply for those last 2 funds.
Okay.
That seems rather strange because we always fight to try to get as much money as we can. And this time they just gave it to us on a golden platter. It seems kind of.
That was through the advocacies of organizations like AMO and such on behalf of all municipalities. Because as you well know, COVID didn't just affect West Lincoln only, but all the municipalities. So
No, I'm aware, but I also believe if you look at the statistics of the 12 municipalities in the region of Niagara, West Lincoln was hit hard.
and it was compensated fairly.
And that's probably why that came about. All right, so just one more question to the Director of Finance then. So how much extra do we have available? And is this going into a reserve for the COVID or what's the plan?
Through you, Mayor Bilsma, to Councillor Rayner. In terms of the 2020 funds, there's probably estimate about $50,000 will be carried forward into 2021. Then we have an additional $66,000 that we received in December of 2020 that we're carrying forward into 2021. Then we have the 267,744. The total amount we have to assist us with COVID in 2021 is approximately $383,000.
Wow. That seems like a lot.
It does. So interesting to go back for more. Go ahead, Councillor Jonker.
Yeah, I think what we're kind of forgetting is that first application, we applied for support. It had to go to COVID-related relief. If we couldn't put it into COVID-related relief, we could carry it forward into this year. That's where that $50,000 comes from, if I understand correctly. You couldn't apply for phase 2 if you didn't use phase 1 up. And we couldn't use phase 1 up because we didn't apply it to things. So it's a balancing book. You can't apply for more money when you didn't use what you've already received. And that's where that confusion, I think, is coming in a bit here. So we had 329,000 given to us. We applied it to where we could by the grant, by what they said we could use it as. And they let us carry 50,000 forward into this year, and now they've added to that. So phase 2, we couldn't apply for because we had money left over, if I'm understanding this correctly.
Okay, we've had quite a fulsome discussion. Madam CAO wants to weigh in for just a comment. Yes, go ahead.
Yes, thank you very much, Mayor. I just wanted to clarify one thing, because I think this is a pretty important piece of information about the use of our facility. Next week, the West Lincoln Community Center is going to be the West Niagara vaccination site. Is going to be open 6 days straight from May the 3rd through to the 8th. And the reason why it has been selected is because of the excellent layout it provides for providing such a service to the community. So indeed, the facility is being used and is being used for our community. It may, and there'll be another tranche later when they announce the next rounds of vaccines. So from May 3rd to May 8th, 6 days in a row, our community center will be very active in vaccinating people in Niagara region.
And I'd like to just dovetail on that, because I think another point is it has not been lights off from end to end for the entire 15 months of this COVID event. The library has continued to function when available with curbside, and when available also allowing people in to use computer terminals. Hockey has been intermittent from time to time. There have been kids who have been allowed to play and practice hockey. The walking track has been available for some of the 15 months as well. So it has not been sitting idly by, mothballed, since this started in March last year. There has been opportunities where it has been used, and but as well noted, there has been loss of revenues. We haven't had the hockey games and such, and so we're being compensated for that. That has been far explained over and over and over again. But to say that the thing has been idly by is patently false, because it has had activity in it at some level, and the vaccination center is another example of how it has been used. So I don't know if anybody else wants to say. Okay, Councillor Rayner, you have the floor for a third time.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Back to you, though. If the province have deemed this a non-essential service, how do you describe those activities when the government said they didn't want it?
Because
how are you justifying to the government that opening the library is an essential service?
Because the province,
that having the walking track open is an essential service, that having some hockey is an essential service.
Because at various times the province has allowed those things, and our staff have allowed them then to also proceed. So we have not
right now.
Correct.
Yep.
Not now, but in the summer and before Christmas, there were some. There's been a varying amount of activity there. Yes.
Yeah, there's been 3 lockdowns so far.
Yeah, correct.
And those are the ones that has been nothing.
Correct.
Now, if I'm only bringing this up because
I know you are. Yeah.
Because of the fact, if the building's not used at all and we didn't shut it down and somebody else did, whoever caused it should pay for it.
Yeah.
Obviously, if that's got some resistance and people say, no, you should pay your taxes anyways, even though you're not going to use this building, great. Why don't we just throw it in a bonfire? But anyways, okay, if that's what they want, fine. I'm just bringing this up to say, it doesn't seem fair to me that somebody else in a higher level shuts it down and we have to pay for it. That's all I'm saying.
And they are compensating for the loss of revenues. So with that,
Just for the last part, but we're paying for the rest of it and not using it at all. That part is a screw up to me.
We are going to go, I'm going to call the question at this time, or move towards the question, unless I vehemently opposed. Seeing no further comments, then I'm going to call the question. All those in favor of sending said letter, the motion's before you, but please indicate now. And opposed. And that is defeated. Thank you very much. It's been a vigorous discussion, well worth it. Nothing wrong with having a vigorous discussion, but okay, let's move on. At this time, we have members of council. They can make council remarks. Are there any councilors wishing to make remarks at this time? Councillor Jonker, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I'd just like to inform you is that tomorrow at 9 a.m. I will be attending the Transportation Steering Committee. And it's been a while since we've had one. Quite often the agenda doesn't get filled up, so they postpone it, and it looks like we're gonna have a full agenda tomorrow. Just on a note, I thought I'd share with council that I will be mentioning the traffic circles a little bit, not complaining about them in any way, but just pointing out to them that especially the one on this end of Smithville by Town Line Road, that it's fairly tight for truck traffic to go through there. And just for them to hopefully take that into consideration when designing traffic circles. Just thought I'd share that with you. And I was just wondering if there's anything else that anybody else wanted me to bring to this committee or not.
Okay. I'm not seeing any. So any other councillors wishing to make a remark or a comment? Councillor Gannon, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I actually thought that you might do this in your mayor's remarks, but we did receive today information from Tom Perry, who is with Hamilton Health Sciences, on an update on what's happening with the hospital. So Infrastructure Ontario publicly shared the names today of the 3 teams, which were pre-qualified through the RFQ process for the new West Lincoln Memorial Hospital. These teams will be invited to submit proposals through the RFP, which will be open this summer. The process will close in December of 21, and then those bids will be assessed through the winter months, and in the spring of 22, the winning bid and team will be announced. So it looks like this is the next great step towards the new West Lincoln Memorial Hospital build. And secondly, the other thing I wanted to say was just a reminder of the town-wide food drive for West Lincoln Community Care on Saturday, which is this Saturday, May 1st, between 10 and 12. There'll be teams of people in the same family driving around, collecting food and delivering those to the community center, or to the community care center, where it will be a few volunteers and also board members helping to receive those goods and then start the sorting process. So some more good community news. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And you're correct. I received other hospital information, and so I didn't know which was divulgeable and which wasn't, but I thank you for your contribution.
Permission to divulge that, so that's
yeah.
okay.
Okay, great. Sometimes I put my foot, open mouth, insert foot. So any other commentary from any other councillors? Go ahead, Councillor Riley.
I just thought I wasn't going to say anything, but I figured why not. I just wanted to give a shout out to Scott, and I always say his last name wrong, but I think it's Antonides or Antonides. Antonide, is it? Okay, Antonide. Because he had been in touch with staff as far as trying to figure out what they could do, and unfortunately with the restrictions of the pandemic, there wasn't too much we could do this year. But him and his class put together a video to help promote Earth Day, and if anything, I think he tried to turn it into Earth 2 weeks and doing a lot of cleanup. And I don't know if anybody saw the photos online, but you can see the the dozens of bags of garbage that were collected from our community. And I hope they keep forward with that. And next year, hopefully we can make it a bigger event. Hopefully we can be a little bit more out and about than we were this year, and not having to be just restricted to our properties. But yeah, I thought they did an excellent job, and it's really wonderful to see that kind of commitment to our community and cleaning up all that waste and garbage that kind of just finds itself around. So I just thought I'd give a quick shout out to that.
Yeah, it is wonderful. And thank you, Councillor, for raising that. Any other councillors? Okay, seeing none, are there any new items of business? Madam Clerk, there are none. So I am going to go to bylaws. Councillor Gannon, you have the resolution for this, for the bylaws.
I do, Mr. Mayor, thank you. Moved by myself that leave be granted to introduce bylaws 2021-30, 2021-31, 2021-32, 2021-33, 2021-34, 2021-35, 2021-36, 2021-37, 2021-38, 2021-39, 2021-40, 2021-41, and 2021-42. And that the same shall be considered to have been read a first, second, and third time with one reading and are hereby adopted. And that the mayor and clerk be and are hereby authorized to sign and affix the corporate seal thereto, any rule of this council to the contrary notwithstanding.
Thank you, Councillor Ganan. Can I get a seconder, please? Councillor Jonker, thank you. Any discussions, comments, questions? Seeing none, then I'm going to call the question on the bylaws. All those in favor, please indicate. And opposed? And that is carried. Thank you very much, everyone. We're going into confidential. We have confidential matters. So I'm going to call upon Councillor Jonker to have the resolution read that moves us into closed.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself that the next portion of this meeting be closed to the public to consider the following pursuant to section 2392 in brackets of the Municipal Act 2021. A, Treasurer / Director of Finance regarding property matter, confidential IT matters. A, the security of the property of the municipality or local board.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Can I get a seconder, please? Councillor Ganan, thank you. And are there any comments or questions before we go into closed? Then I'm going to call the question. All those in favor, please indicate. And that is carried. I would like to state we will now be going into closed session. So I would ask everyone to leave this Zoom meeting and join the closed meeting for which the IT manager has sent an invitation to all the members of council and applicable staff. And then we will come back into public shortly. Thank you. Councillor Rayner, you have the resolution to come out of closed.
I'm sorry, I do not.
Okay. Well,
Oh, hang on a minute. Hang on a minute. Hang on a minute. You're correct. Moved by myself. No, it's second by, sorry. The meeting now does resume an open session at
Yep.
8:25 PM.
Very well done. Can I get a seconder, please? Councillor Riley, thank you. Any comments or questions? Seeing none.
Oh, hold
Okay, Councillor Rayner, go ahead.
Thank you. Part of my package was exactly what happened in confidential. And it took all of 30 seconds. It took less time than it does to go off and to go back on,
Yes,
which is a royal pain. I'd rather be in the council chambers. I got my shot, so let's get back together again. Anyways, why do we have to do this? We already knew there was nothing added.
Okay, because it was a confidential matter.
Oh,
We had to
all right,
receive
because-
information. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. We are now in open session and there is nothing to report from the closed session. It was just receiving of information. So I will call this meeting adjourned at the hour of 8:26. Thank
Thank
you.
you, everybody. Good night.
Good night.
One-
Good night.
Yep. Good night, everybody. Good
Hi,
night.
everybody.
Thanks for hanging in there.